In 1981, up against Redcliffe, I was off the bench. The feeling around that game was as much hope as it was desperation. They just absolutely needed it.
We'd been in the final for about 3 years and we couldn't win one. And when Souths won the final, that was the only time I've ever cried at football.
1 minute left. They're running it. Phelan. Meninga. Red will score, I think. He's in. That could be the one that wins it.
It was pretty exciting, obviously. I grabbed Nick and sort of threw him around like a rag doll, basically. Probably the best tackle I did all day too, but it was all worth it. He didn't care. It was a great day for us. It was an emotional day. We partied for about 2 or 3 days afterwards.
He knew there was the Redcliffe into the corner. That's the winning try. That's a grand final try. And really, South, I think, had deserved to win this match.
The game was still able to survive on chook raffles at pubs and raffles around the clubs, but the writing was on the wall by the early 70s that clubs had to start looking elsewhere.
In the mid-70s we were in crisis as far as money went.
They made promises to us about, yes, we'll get to the money, and we all stuck in there and we all hung in there. I think it's just the characters of everyone at the time. Just said, yes, South will survive.
Really, they were playing for their club, for their families. They were playing for the jersey on their back and the glory of what winning rugby league games could bring. By 1976, 1977, the league had already identified that their crowd numbers were dropping off. The clubs realised they had to start restructuring and doing things slightly different.
When we first brought Wayne back to take over from Bob McCarthy, I wasn't very open with Wayne, and he could sense there was something wrong with me, and he said, "You're not going to tell me we're broke again, are you?" And I said, "Yeah, we haven't got any money, Wayne." He said, "All right, well, we'll just have to work out some innovative ways to make this happen."
In our era, the mouse races were the big thing. I mean, we got big crowds. There'd be lots of money, and everyone would be cheering these bloody mice racing down these little things that Gary's dad had built, you know.
So one of the Greek boys decided we'd have a Manila night, and I was earning some really big money in those days, $3,000 a night. Then the Greek fella decided to tell me one night, he said, "Oh, we're taking on Jerry Bellino," because Bellino had the big gambling dens in the valley, and he said, "I got his dealer." I said, "Mate, that's the most ridiculous move you've ever made in your life." About 3 o'clock in the morning, two big guys pull up in the car. "Who's running the game?" "I am, come with us." Walked me down the jetty down here and said, "Play again next week, you're in the river." So that was the end of that money-making venture.
This place should have shut down years ago, and every year there'd be another reason to add to the list to shut it down.
Souths was a dirty word. A lot of people didn't like a lot about Souths. We weren't supposed to be winning competitions. We didn't have any money. None of our administrators were running the game at the top level.
The crowd numbers continued to drop off through the 80s. The emergence of the Broncos in 1988 was just that moment when things had to change.
Money spoiled all sport, I don't care what you say. See, I've never gone for the Broncos, and I never will because they spoiled our competition.
There was more aspects to that. Television was becoming part of common life. The press jumped on the bandwagon and ditched the Brisbane Rugby League like it had never existed. The trickle of players to Sydney had just become a rush. Every year, half our state side would end up playing in Sydney, and 4 or 5 of them had come up and play for New South Wales and smash us in the interstate series.
It was tough. I never wanted to leave. I never wanted to play for South. I wanted to play for South in first grade, and I did that, and then I wanted to play representative football, and I couldn't do it from here. It was just so difficult to finally realise that I had to leave.
You still weren't considered up there in the top echelon of players unless you played Sydney. I went down there, and I can rest assured that the standard wasn't that much higher.
Money can buy you any player you like, whereas with us, we've got to try and grow that player and want that player to stay at the club.
What we lack in funds, what we lack in facilities, and what we lacked in quality players that we make up for in other areas. We can teach these people good life skills along the way.
The off-field dramas that we seem to be seeing with all the elite players, they're missing out on learning what limits are. They're being thrown a lot of money and living in a fantasy world from the age of about 15.
I think the most I got was £25 once. So I said, "Listen, boy, this will buy 3 5-gallon kegs," and that's where I spent it. The players just played for love.
If Wayne Bennett said something to me, or Tony Tester said something to me, or Bruce Astle said something to me, I'd take it on board. I know they mean it, they care about me, and there's a certain honesty about it.
If you did the wrong thing by your team and you let your team down in some way, you didn't make the team. And that's all I ever wanted to do, was play in the team and not let my mates down.
This grade of football has taught me to be a lot more professional. You need to come through the grades and do the hard yards. Knowing that a club doesn't have a lot of money, but you know, you're here because you want to be here. I play here because I want to play here. South has given me a lot, so I want to give it back to them.
Souths have been blessed with some of the greatest administrators.
Tony Tester, who was just a man before his years. Some of the things he did were just so innovative it wasn't funny.
Tony Tester. Oh God, he changed us all, didn't he?
I remember Bill Tyquin saying to me once, I need to find a replacement. I said, I've got one. He said, who is he? I said, his name's Tony Tester. He said, what nationality? And I said, he's Italian. He said, what does he know about rugby league? I said, nothing. Why is he good? I said, he just is good. He's just a good bloke.
It was the golden era of South that he took us through. No one liked to let him down, no one wanted to fail him. And I remember the headline, chairman barred from the change rooms. I had to bar him from coming to the because he put everybody under too much pressure. You know, he'd get in there and give someone a cuddle and say, don't play bad today, don't let me down today, you know, and that was the last thing we needed. He was passionate, he was everything that we weren't. He'd cuddle you and kiss you and embarrass you, and those things just didn't happen in this game in that era. I think we all loved Tony. And the bottom line, everybody knew that he cared about him. You were important in Tony Tester's life.
And now, subsequently, we've got a bloke called Jim McClellan, and this place wouldn't survive had it not been for Jim.
You just need that one strong-willed person that believes in the place, and others will get in and help, you know, and that's how they've managed to do it, because the other clubs that have all gone by the wayside haven't had that one person.
He's kept this club going, and he knows, I think, deep down how I've always felt about the club.
It's a great thing about Jim, you know, he's not just a CEO, he's a great person. He'll do anything for you before himself. He's South, isn't he? You know, he was South when we were here as young guys. He did my contract. I think I got $3,000, the first coaching contract.
I really believe it's the spirit of the people who have come to the place, have played for the place, and have worked in the place and kept it alive. Nothing can show you that more than Laura Lister, for God's sake. 90% of my life has been involved with South, but hers is, 99% of her life has been with South, you know, from a little girl to now. God bless her, 84 years old, you know, and still wearing the black and white. She's the lady of the club, you know, she's been here forever. You can just tell when she talks, you know, she just talks with, you know, that same word, passion.
I've always wanted to give to the football club because I knew they needed it. So thank you very much for all your applause. 34 years I did in the canteen. Jimmy's always said to me, you've done your job for South. He treats me like a queen now every time I go to a game. But it's kind of nice to be respected and thought about.
Davies Park is extremely important to the history of the Magpies.
There's always been rumours around what's going to happen to Davies Park.
Well, they're moving in gradually like they try to claim it, but they got a good few fighters that help us hold on to it.